On a sunny afternoon, Hurricane drifts into New Romney at the head of a train from Hythe. Unnoticed by some of the passengers, the train passes a small ornamental garden. But this oasis of calm, with its pond and waterfall tucked neatly between the coal dump and the carriage sidings, is more than just a garden. It's also the last resting place of the man who conceived and financed the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway, Captain John Edwards Presgrave Howey. But the origins of the RH&DR really started a few miles inland from the Kent coast, at the village of Bridge near Canterbury. Just south of the village is the entrance to Hyams Park, which was once home to Count Louis Zabrowski. Born of a rich family, he had plenty of time and money to indulge his love of both motor racing and miniature railways. He even built a railway around the grounds of the house, and to run on it he asked Henry Greenley to design 2 miniature locomotives. In the early 1920s, Greenley had risen to be the most experienced miniature railway designer in Britain, and for the Count he designed 2 1/3 full-size express locomotives based on the Gresley Pacifics of the Great Northern Railway. The job of building them was given to the Colchester firm of Davy Paxman, but unfortunately while they were under construction, Zabrowski was killed in 1924 during practice for his last motor race at Monza, and he never saw them finished. But the Count had previously found a kindred spirit in fellow millionaire Jack Howey. Born in the Eastern Counties, most of Howey's fortune originated from land he had inherited in the city of Melbourne, Australia. Even today, Howey Place and the Presgrave building form a very valuable piece of real estate, although the family connection ceased with the death of Howey's wife in 1974. Like the Count, Howey had plenty of money to indulge his love of miniature railways, and upon Zabrowski's death he joined forces with Greenley to find a suitable place to build a new railway for the locomotives. The area finally chosen was that part of East Kent known as the Romney Marsh. Close to Kent's border with East Sussex, it was best known in the early years of the 20th century for smuggling and sheep, but it was also flat and ideal for Howey's railway. Backed by Howey's fortune, Greenley set about surveying a route towards Hythe from a new station site near the town of New Romney. The eventual route was to start at the line's headquarters in Littlestone Road, from where it would run across fields before diving under the main coast road at the Warren. Then a series of long curves would lead it almost parallel with the coast until it reached the old Littlestone airfield, where a small station was to be built to serve St Mary's Bay and the holiday camps that were springing up in that area. Onward then, the line would run across open farmland to Dymchurch, 3 miles from New Romney, where a rather grand station with a roof over the running lines was to be built. From Dymchurch it will be a 5-mile gallop across the marsh towards the hills of the Saxon shoreline, and a station tucked away at the southern end of Hythe alongside the Royal Military Canal. Across the almost flat terrain, construction progressed rapidly over the 8 miles between New Romney and Hythe, in the main before the results of the public inquiry and the granting of the light railway order, not that that worried Howey. To demonstrate his intentions to the public, he put one of his new locomotives on show in the garage next door to the site of New Romney Station, and he purchased a small shunting engine from Germany to handle the construction trains. He also took the step of ordering more locomotives from Davy Paxman, and for a while their works looked more like Crewe than Colchester. By August 1925, the railway was far enough advanced to receive a visit from the Duke of York, who was visiting the boys' camps he had an interest in near St Mary's Bay. He travelled on the footplate of Northern Chief to and from New Romney with Howey, while Greenley, Sir Nigel Gresley and a host of invited celebrities travelled in the train. The visit was a great success, but it was nearly a year before the railway was finally opened to the public, when, on July the 16th, 1927, the first train left Hythe for New Romney, hauled by locomotive number 5, Hercules. The railway was an immediate success with holidaymakers and day trippers, so much so that Howey now turned his attention to extending the line. 5.5 miles south lay the lighthouse at Dungeness Point, and this he set as his eventual goal. It was finally reached in August 1928, with a regular train service starting over the bank holiday weekend. Dungeness was not a true terminus, as the station was set midway around a balloon loop formed by the double track, In future years, this would mean that the way was open for 27-mile non-stop runs, by far the longest possible on a railway of this sort. This early film does much to give an idea of the atmosphere of the railway in the late 1920s. Trains are seen at several locations, and as well as the locomotives, it features some of the rather unattractive and Spartan four-wheel coaches that Greenly designed to put behind his magnificent locomotives. Fortunately, his 12-seater bogie Pullman coaches, which were built by the Clayton Wagon Company in 1929, were altogether more railway-like and luxurious. Most of the four-wheelers disappeared in the mid-1930s with the introduction of more new bogie coaches, and the remnants of the Clayton bogie coach fleet were broken up in the 1970s, but the railway has retained one of the original Pullmans for use on special occasions. By the 1930s, the railway had established itself as one of the main attractions of the Kent coast. This film, shot in 1939 by the entertainment's manager at Madison's holiday camp, may not be of the highest quality, but its content more than makes up for that. When this was shot, Dungeness Old Lighthouse was still working, but even then visitors were able to climb to the top and enjoy the view. By sitting on the tender, our cameraman offers a fascinating view of the original double track between Dungeness and New Romney, together with an almost total lack of line-side housing. Finally, at Hythe Station, we see one of the two Canadian-style locomotives delivered to the railway in 1931. But while passengers were still enjoying themselves on the railway, war clouds were looming over Europe. With the declaration of war, the RH&DR was taken over by the Army and used as part of the coastal defence network. The most famous aspect of this was the armoured train, where Hercules and two old bogie hopper wagons were turned into an armoured fighting machine with Lewis guns and Boy's anti-tank rifles. By 1945, the RH&DR was in a very poor state, but after a lot of hard work, trains were able to run again between New Romney and Hythe in time for the 1946 season. A special rededication ceremony uniting the mayors of Hythe and New Romney took place, and the RH&DR was once again back in business. The Dungeness section had been very badly damaged during the war, and it wasn't until 1947 that Laurel and Hardy were able to perform the opening ceremony. The shortage of new rail after the war meant that the section between New Romney and Dungeness had to be cut back to a single line, but at least the railway was open over the full length again. During the 1950s and early 60s, the railway prospered, thanks to holidays at home and the increase in motor car ownership. In the early 1960s, the advent of the package tour to the sun and a week's holiday in Spain for less than a week in Folkestone dealt a body blow to the railway's passenger traffic. In September 1963, just after the railway closed for the winter, Captain Howey died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 77. His wife immediately sold the railway. Without Howey's millions to keep it going, the escalating cost of repairs was so great that it was decided in 1972 to close the railway and sell off the assets. All looked lost until staff alerted a group of enthusiastic businessmen led by William, now Sir William McAlpine. His group, with Managing Director John Snell in control, set about reviving the fortunes of this historic line. In 1977, while celebrating the line's Golden Jubilee, Sir William was asked just why he had taken the steps he had to ensure the railway's future.
This railway is a unique institution, and it's really the only fully steam-operated railway in this country. I mean, there are lots of other railways on which there are steam engines, but this railway is run as a steam railway was run many years ago.
So just how successful has this revival been? And does the railway still retain some, if not all, of the charm of Howey and Greenley's original? I think it does, but let's take a look. Hythe Station. The outside of the station building has never been as imposing as one might have liked, and even inside it gives little away about what is to follow. But it is bright and eye-catching, and does the job for which it was built. But for me, it's once you get beyond the ticket barrier and onto the station that the magic really begins. Built in 1926 and painted in a gleaming South Eastern and Chatham Railway livery, Southern Maid runs onto the turntable to be turned ready for the 13.5-mile run to Dungeness. Having been turned, watered and oiled, Southern Maid must now pick up some extra coaches to strengthen her already long train. first major obstacle outside of Hythe is Prince of Wales Road, which the railway negotiates by diving under one of Greenleigh's concrete bridges. As Hurricane and Northern Chief double-header train through Prince of Wales, we move beyond Pall Marsh to see Sampson and then Dr. Syn passing West Hythe Lakes. Later in the day, Dr. Syn approaches Botolph's Bridge level crossing, the first of 13 such crossings between Hythe and Dungeness. In the reverse direction, Hurricane whistles up for the road. Approaching the Willett Bridge, we get a driver's eye view of diesel passing steam as 12 passes 2. Even with 16 crowded coaches, Hurricane makes easy work of the strong crosswinds on the Willett. Sometimes you happen to be in the right place at the right time. In this case, it's a line-side view of Sampson and Typhoon passing. For many years now, the railway has operated a school's contract service, taking children to and from school in New Romney. The limit of the operation is Burmarsh Road. Howey's original station, Burmarsh Road for Dymchurch Bay and Burmarsh Village, was quickly downgraded to a halt and closed completely in 1950. But it was reopened, albeit for school traffic only, with the start of the school's contract in 1977. But Burmarsh Station only exists if you're driving the school train. For normal passenger trains, it's just another level crossing. While an overgrown lamb has dinner on its mind, Northern Chief hurries on to Hythe. Dymchurch, 5 miles from Hythe, is our first stop, as Green Goddess runs into the station with a Dungeness-bound train. Although extensively rebuilt, several of the original buildings, including Greenley's booking office, still exist. Without the overall roof, we get a good view of Hercules running in with the upbound train for Hythe. On leaving Dymchurch, the train crosses St Mary's Road and heads out across open countryside. The railway's been here for over 70 years, and Southern Maid and Dr Sin seem almost part of the landscape as they steam on towards Jeffferston Lane. The smallest of the railway's 6 stations, Jeffferston Lane was once one of the busiest. Where houses now sit close to the line, there were holiday camps, and in the 1920s this was Littlestone Airfield. Edith Nisbet, the author of The Railway Children, once lived in one of the converted airfield buildings alongside the site of the station. The mainstay of passenger traffic from Jeffferston Lane is the daily school train. Here we see it running empty back from Burmarsh Road. To avoid having to run through to Hythe for reversing, a control trailer is attached to the rear of the train so it can work as a push-pull unit, in a similar fashion to the old Gatwick Express trains. After leaving Jeffferston Lane, the railway runs behind the housing estate that was built on the site of the school's journey centre. This was the camp that the Duke of York was visiting in 1925 when he took a ride with Howey to New Romney. The Warren has been a favourite place for both rabbits and photographers for many years. Here Southern Maid runs under the A259 coast road with a Hythe train, while Hurricane is seen speeding on towards New Romney. Entering New Romney, our train passes loco sheds and workshops, as this station is the railway's operating base, and all of the rolling stock is stored and maintained here. Over the road from the station is the Captain Howey Hotel, where in 1925 as the station hotel, it was used as Greenley's drawing and planning office during the construction of the railway. Next door to the hotel in Station Road, these factory units mark the site of the old Southern Railway Station, which fell to the beaching axe in 1967. Fortunately, the RH&DR's New Romney station still looks very much the same as it did in 1927, at least from the outside. Inside, much has changed, but during the holiday season it still has the bustle of a busy mainline railway station, with trains constantly coming and going. On high season Saturday afternoons, the non-stop Dungeness to Hythe Express makes a stirring sight as it runs through under the overall roof. Just after the war, Howey added a model exhibition to the facilities at New Romney. Much rebuilt since the new company took over in the 1970s, this has now developed into the Romney Toy and Model Museum, an attraction in its own right with thousands of visitors each year.
Right, come on, let's take you to the loo. Come on.
As much as we would like it to, the sun doesn't always shine on the Romney Marsh, and with the arrival of the rains of winter, many of the railway staff leave their summer duties and disappear into the works to restore, repair and build for the future season. In the coachworks, new coaches are built and older coaches are repainted and refurbished, while carriage and wagon deal with the running gear and the brakes. With 11 steam engines and 2 diesels to maintain and overhaul, the engineering department has its work cut out if it's to meet the new season's deadlines. At least 7 steam locomotives need to be operational if the demands of the bank holiday and high seasons are to be met, and there are now only just over 2 months during the winter when all of the steam engines are available to work on. But not everyone can work indoors. Although this is a sunny day, there is little or no heat to be gained from the sun as the wind chill factor steadily increases. The permanent way gang are responsible for the maintenance of all the track work and fencing on the railway, and they have to be prepared to work in all conditions. Here they're digging out the old track near Dymchurch in readiness for laying in new sleepers and rail. You can put my name on the appendix. As the new season approaches, it's time to test locomotives and get things ready for the start of service. This is a rather grubby Samson, minus a front bogie, dome cover, cab roof and bits of the running plate, being tested prior to reassembly. During weekends in the winter and early part of the year, members of the Supporters Association organise working parties to undertake a variety of jobs. Here, the Simplex takes a works train out to the other side of Littlestone Road so that some stronger fencing can be erected between the railway and the road. As the members of the association dig holes for the fence posts, Hurricane runs past with one of the first trains of the season to Dungeness. The pull out of New Romney towards Church Lane Crossing is a good place to hear locos working hard, although double-headed Romney power makes light work of the climb. Normally engines run chimney first on the railway, but during the high season service an early Hythe departure is provided from Romney Sands. This involves a train running out from New Romney tender first, so that the engine can run round its train at Romney Sands to leave it facing the right way for the run to Hythe. Onwards towards Greatstone. The dream of this being a new town by the sea meant that it warranted a larger than normal station. Unfortunately, the dream was shattered by the war, and so was the station. All that's left is this gun post, built using the shell of Greenlee's waiting shelter. Only the resilience of the ferro-concrete saves it from being pulled down, as the station was long ago relegated to a halt, and trains don't stop here at all now. Of the 13 level crossings on the railway, no fewer than 8 are to be found along the 5 miles between New Romney and Dungeness. Although none of the crossings are gated, they're all protected by automatic crossing signals which warn car drivers of approaching trains. The only intermediate station on this section is Romney Sands, where a passing loop allows up and down trains to cross. As the station master surveys his empire, the up train pulls into the loop and the down train approaches the road crossing into the holiday camp. At Romney Sands, drivers exchange single line tokens, without which they cannot proceed. Normally this is a very slick operation performed on the move, but we can all make mistakes. Near to Romney Sands, it's still possible to make out the trackbed of the siding which served the construction of the sound reflectors, that strange collection of concrete dishes and walls that were to act as the audio equivalent of radar. Although the experiment was abandoned long before the Second World War, most of the trackbed and the bridge built to carry the Southern Railway over it can still be seen today. Back on the main line, Winston Churchill crosses Taylor Road towards New Romney. While briefly breaking free of the houses, Hercules passes Lade Fort. Beyond the Lade, the houses are concentrated on the seaside of the line, with nothing but acres of protected shingle and plant life on the landward side. As well as the level crossings, there are 2 overbridges between Romney Sands and Dungeness. Southern Maid runs towards the second at Curtain Road. In 1928, a temporary terminus in the form of a turning Y was put in near the pilot. After more than 70 years, the old grass-covered embankments are still visible, and even a piece of rail that marked the apex of the Y is still in situ. At the pilot, the railway at last breaks free of the houses as it heads out across the shingle towards Dungeness Lighthouse. Approaching Britannia Points, the two 482s, Samson and Hercules, negotiate the junction of the return loop with the main line. As this is a spring-loaded point, it has to be approached at caution, and there's a 5 mile/h limit over it in both directions. Having safely negotiated the junction, the 2 locos accelerate away. In the background is the newer of the 2 Dungeness lighthouses. Finally, the train takes the long sweeping right-hand curve into Dungeness Station, 13.5 miles and 65 minutes after leaving Hythe. According to Greenley's original plan, the station was to have been slightly further round the loop, where it would have formed an interchange with the Southern Railway's Dungeness to Appledore line. For some reason, this was altered during construction to the extension, and the station now sits directly opposite the old lighthouse. Stopping in the platform, we draw alongside Southern Maid, which was the engine we saw being turned at Hythe at the beginning of our journey. Although there were plans during the war to extend the railway to Canberra and Rye, you can't really go much further these days, as the sea blocks you in one direction and the power station in the other. But Dungeness has lots to see. Strange houses made from old railway carriages, the power station visitors centre and the lighthouses, and a tremendous variety of plant life. The old main line station, from where you could catch a train to Victoria in the 1930s, is now just a memory of broken concrete and ruined platforms. Trains still use the branch, but it stops now about a mile short of Dungeness, and the only traffic is freight for the power station. But fortunately, you can still live the captain's dream and catch a train to Hythe on the world's smallest public railway, and it's still the longest and most comprehensive railway of its type. As the lights come on at New Romney, the clock ticks forward to 5:20 p.m. on October the 31st, the last day of the 1999 operating season. On time, Green Goddess runs out of the Dungeness darkness into New Romney to be replaced by a diesel for the last leg of the last trip to Hythe. Passing the brightly lit loco shed, Southern Maid brings in her train from Hythe. Inside the shed, locos are already being prepared for winter work or storage, even though the season is only just ending. Finally, with all passengers on board, number 12 departs from New Romney with one of the last trains of the 20th century. What the 21st century holds for the RH&DR is anyone's guess, but if it's as colourful as the story so far, then it will never be boring.